Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, presented by T.A. Forsberg and Wagoner Financial. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
So restaurant ownership is probably one of the most challenging career choices one can make, but a select few find their niche and fight the good fight to success. Here to share his evolving journey as the CEO and founder of Tantay, Mr. Jose Aste?
Aste, yes.
Aste, all right, perfect. Welcome, Jose. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Chris.
So share a little bit by telling us what Tantay means and what's the heritage behind your brand.
Absolutely. So Tantay is a word in Quechua, which was the native language of the Incas. And what Tantay means is to bring people together to join. And since the start of Tantay, I've been wanting to do that in different ways. And the first one, which gave me the confidence to open up a restaurant, was I'm a people's person, and I've learned that it takes someone to understand people, listen to people, and create like an environment for people to grow in, to lead, and
right.
Especially in a kitchen in the restaurant industry. So we do that. We're trying to do that. We've been doing that by, from the get-go paying higher than average wages. Especially I started right before the pandemic. So during the pandemic, there were some things that weren't too nice, that you'd hear especially in the food industry.
Right.
And then, growing in the Allen Neighborhood Center, really bridged a lot of relationships through them with local farmers. So I've tried to, from a minute level, try to seek farmers and pick their brain and, see, just start, how do you say it, calculating my food costs, but, using farmers, that bigger price, higher price for quality as it should. So just molding, my business to that so I can, it could be bulletproof, not bulletproof, but, proofing it. And especially because I was growing it during the pandemic. And then the other one by joining, bringing people together is by bringing a cuisine that's never existed in Lansing. I don't think, from my research, I think we're going to be the first brick and mortar ever, a Peruvian brick and mortar restaurant in the Lansing area.
Got it. So Peruvian. I mean, that's fantastic. I've had it. That's why I found you. I heard the news that you were getting your first brick and mortar. That's why I wanted to have you on. And I've personally had your food, but can you share with the listeners who maybe haven't what makes Peruvian food uniquely Peruvian?
Yeah.
It's a certain ingredient, certain style. Like what's the deliverable that people tend to receive?
So where I'm from, Lima, the capital of Peru, we're located on the Pacific Ocean. And in South America, we're the one major city, the only one major city on the Pacific Ocean in South America. So that was a door for numerous migrations.
Okay.
But before the migrations happened, it was very, Inca, and so those indigenous roots are there. That's the basis of Peruvian cuisine. Our Peruvian peppers are distinct, different flavor profile. They go well with acid, salt. They're different from a jalapeno, a serrano pepper, but that's what really makes our flavors different.
Yeah.
Now, the tradition comes from like we have quinoa, we have potatoes. That's huge in Peru, but these African, European, Asian migrations really fused our food and kind of put us on the map even more. So, people that enjoy those types of cuisines enjoy our cuisine because I like to say it's familiar ingredients but put in a different way. So I think that's what people love about our cuisine.
And I'll tell you, it's a flavor explosion. I mean, every time we go and we see you, right? I mean, so you've been operating out of the Allen Neighborhood Center, and we can talk about the food truck and farmers market here in a second, but yeah, every time my wife kind of turned me on to this, and we get the to go, and even to go, bring it home, not hot off the skillet or whatever. But it's fabulous. I mean, it is uniquely Peruvian. There's something in it that is very different than anything I'd ever had, and it's really pleasing. And I have a discerning palate. Like I wasn't always as adventurous with food. I found it to be really accessible and nothing too overt and weird.
I appreciate
it was
that.
Really, really good.
Thank you.
So how did you get your passion for food and food preparation and restaurant tourism?
So I never went to culinary school. My background is in aviation. I was an aircraft technician, aircraft electronics technician for almost 12 years before I started Tantay.
Okay.
In the summer of 2019. But I mean, just being Peruvian, I mean, we love our food. So, and my parents are excellent cooks. My mom cooked more Peruvian items in the kitchen at home, and I grew up in Miami and Peru. But I just loved what food did, you know, to family members, to people. You know, it just brought people together. So I loved that idea that, you know, just in the kitchen in our apartment, you know, my mom cooking a bunch of food, it's smoking, you know, everyone's laughing, you know. So I loved that part of food, of what it did, you know, to people. So that's how I got into it. And, you know, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I've always wanted something like this, a food truck. And you know, just looking, there was a big void, you know, in the market around here for Peruvian cuisine. So, and right now we're like the second Peruvian restaurant concept, or Peruvian concept, soon to be brick and mortar in the whole state of Michigan.
Is that right?
Yes.
Can I ask where the other one is?
The other one's in Ferndale.
Okay.
Delicious as well. And then I think they're opening up another one in Ann Arbor.
Got it.
So, so yeah, you know, like they've proved their concept. They started earlier than us. I don't know them. I've had their food. I like it a lot. But yeah, you know, they just proved that, you know, this is a thing. We can do this, you know?
So talk about the Allen Neighborhood Center and how they, what they are for those who are not listening here in the mid-Michigan area, because Joan is a legend here.
Yeah.
But how did you operate in there, and what kind of services did they provide to you as a budding restaurateur? So,
man, I can write a book on the Allen Neighborhood Center. They really, so what the community center has done for me is that, you know, it has two commercial kitchens now. The one in 19 where I started was the incubator kitchen. You rent it by the hour after being licensed by the Ingham County Health Department, or MDARD. And once you, you know, put your things in order, liability insurance, you can rent the kitchen by the hour and start testing your product. That's just the operational side, but just the entrepreneurial spirit in that area, in that community center, is amazing. I was fortunate to grow my business alongside a close friend of mine, Marcus Leslie, Mr. Leslie's Cheesecakes. Gogi started there. Smoothie Queen started there. Apple Blossom Kombucha. I can just name all these. And I think it's important to name all of them, because that's the cohesion that's there. You know, it's that entrepreneurial spirit, and you never feel alone when you're there, because you see other people just, you know, honestly just struggling or succeeding, you know, just like you are. It's a very up and down situation, you know, you know, entrepreneur realism, or however you say it. But I loved it for that. And then apart from that, just that community concept. I mean, they give food out for the community once a week. They have a really successful CSA program using local farmers at almost arm's reach around here. What else? And then with the building of the accelerator program, where I have been for the past 2 years, the apartment buildings, ALFCO. I mean, that's literally what they do. Is they're just trying to, you know, build more community and have people have more resources to use. Right. So the Allen Neighborhood Center was the perfect thing for me, because I didn't have to go directly to a bank, get loans out, get into debt for a food truck or a brick and mortar, and wait for people to come. You know, I use their guidance, and it's been very successful for me.
So you've been using the Allen Neighborhood Center, and you mentioned food truck, and I've met you at farmers markets and at the center directly. Talk about the whole food truck and farmers market experience.
Absolutely.
How did that flourish quickly?
It did. Yeah, it did. So before, when I started at the Allen Neighborhood Center, I was doing in-home private dinner parties. Okay. And at the same time, I was doing farmers markets. So the dinner parties were great because I was going into people's homes. I was doing 5-course meals. Sometimes I would, depending on the amount of people, I would also mix cocktails as well, or bring in a bartender, a friend, James. And that's how it all started. Like, just being in front of people, picking their brain, showing them what I want to do, explaining my vision, and picking their brain. Like, what do you want in a restaurant? What are you looking for? What's something different that we don't have here? So perfect. It was a lot of a lot of learning. And then in the farmers market, same thing. You know, it was another cohesive environment where I can talk to farmers, talk to people what they liked about the food. And I started with just the same items, you know, little, and then that way I can just make it better and better, more consistent. But at the at the Accelerator Kitchen, you know, 2 years ago, I wasn't so confident to go into a brick and mortar yet. but I was confident to get a food truck. And that was great for us because the Accelerator Kitchen, we're small, and our budget has been small, especially for marketing and stuff. But considering where we were located, I wanted to branch out more and faster and easier. So I decided to invest in a food truck, and that really put us on the map even more because then I was doing big festivals around town, farmers markets, some private corporate events with a food truck. And I was just providing, we were just getting more experience. We're a very flexible business is what I like because we cater. We have the food truck. We have an on-site, on-premise situation with dine-in, So, but the food truck was absolutely amazing because that really put us out in the community more.
So the confidence that was built by being out there where you seems to have helped you be comfortable with springboarding into brick and mortar. But talk a little bit about like your following, like and the feedback that maybe you received. I guess you maybe see people looking at your menu and taking a dive and buying something and then leaving, right? If it's a food truck or a farmer's market, you don't get to watch them enjoy or give you any feedback. Whereas in a brick and mortar, I think you'll get that. But how did you develop any kind of a sense that you were getting positive feedback, even though the customers were walking away?
So, the reviews that we have, like the 50 something reviews that we have online, being up front, the food truck is great because it's a social experiment. You're in that window, you're talking to people. That's your shot, to really put your story out, engage with your new consumers, with the community. We just would get feedback all the time, pictures of people posting it. We would actually, something really cool is private messages, like on Facebook.
There you go.
Something like that, which was big. We have Square also. People will send us messages on Square, like, this was so delicious, keep going. I mean, we have some really awesome followers. And they've been very also patient with us too. We've been a 3-person team this entire time, and we're growing, which is really exciting.
Right on.
Yeah.
So before we jump into your brick and mortar endeavor and the details therein, let's give a shout out to one of my sponsors, and not also unusual to parallel these two, but your landlord.
Yes.
Turns out I didn't realize that when I was booking this. But so when it comes to creating commercial and residential spaces, there's no one I trust more than my friends at the Forsberg Real Estate Company. Brent Forsberg and his team take a holistic approach to creating an environment that suits your needs while creating a foundation for a prosperous community. Since the 1950s, Forsberg has been a name to trust if you're looking to partner on a project, occupy a great space to live or work, or simply follow one of the great thought leaders in our state. Reach out to my friends at the Forsberg Real Estate Company by calling 517-349-9330 or check out their website at lansingrealestate.com. You won't regret it, and I don't think you'll regret it either, Jose.
No.
So talk a little bit about the brick and mortar. I mentioned that Brent, I think, is going to be your landlord. He's got a lot of great property around here, and it sounds like the bank, that the kind of the area you're going into, does have a kind of a food forward focus. So talk about where you're going to be and why that space is going to be good for you.
Absolutely. So we're going to be located on Jolly Road, really close to Okemos, right off the highway in Okemos in Meridian Township. There are about 4 hotels around us. I think about 10,000 cars pass in front of our brick and mortar space. We're right off the highway. We do get visitors, South American, Peruvians on the weekends that like to look for us. Really easy for people to come from outside of Lansing to visit us.
Massive apartment complex behind you.
Massive apartment complex. And going back to the confidence, I mean, like there's a lot of restaurants around there, but none of them are Peruvian cuisine.
Absolutely. No, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. And what it is it's a perfect springboard for us. It's a perfect springboard. We're not going to, up the menu too much. We have a food truck menu also, and we have a dine-in menu, takeout menu that we've had this time. So we're going to try to incorporate that food truck menu into the brick and mortar a little bit. But yeah, we're very, very excited. I think that area is going to be really good for us because we're going to be really out there more, you know, and it's going to test our operation more and how well we're doing things, our systems, our processes. So yeah, I think it's the perfect springboard for us.
And that is a second generation restaurant space too. So hopefully your investment in, you take vacant merchant space and try to turn it into a restaurant would take a lot of capital to get that going. That is a shortcut a little bit, isn't it? Helpful?
That's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why, also a major reason, because you know how it is in this industry. It's a numbers game, and and it's all about making really, really good decisions and using information to help you make those really good decisions. So I was lucky enough that, they contacted me and were like, hey, you might check this out, former Woody's Oasis, a Mediterranean cuisine. So the process, the investment is a lot less than I think someone would be doing on their own or in a vacant spot and turning it into something. So I'm very lucky, and just very appreciative of the whole situation.
So what's the timeline? We're recording this early December of 2023. When do you think you'll be open for business?
So I'm telling everybody mid-January to mid-February.
Okay.
We're in there. We're almost done. We've already started training some people at the Allen Neighborhood Center. And then by the next year, we'll bring the rest of the team. I'm going to open with just 5 people. We're opening in the winter, but then that should give us enough time by March, April, when that food truck gets back online. We're going to need more people. So we're really excited. Yeah, that's my team that I've been, training and working with for the past 2 years, and now they're training, so it's just really cool to see how it's evolved.
That's awesome. Well, I couldn't wish more success for you. It's an amazing story. I appreciate everything you do for the community. I'd love to spend another half an hour talking to you a little bit about your core values. And, what was your website again, if you can remind our listeners?
So our website is www.tantaylansing.com.
Can you spell that for the fans?
Absolutely. TANTAY Lansing, LANSING.com.
Because if you go on that and you read the about section, it doesn't just hit you in the face with a menu.
No.
It talks about core values and community and vibrancy and what food does to our spaces, which honestly is really what made me excited to have you on here today. So I encourage our listeners to go to tantaylansing.com.
Yes.
Read the story, then drive down to Okemos and Jolly in mid-January or February and go check it all out. I promise you it's worth it.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for being on board with us today, Jose, from Tantay Lansing.
Thank you very much.